Hi. Could you please tell me who you are and what you're doing? What's your function?
Okay, I'm Pam Kato, and I'm the owner of PM Kato Consulting. And so I'm helping businesses get into the game of serious games for health now.
Are there a lot of businesses who want to get in?
Yes, they are, because games have kind of been changing things. Instead of reading things, we're playing games, and instead of just taking medicine, we're playing games to change our health and improve our health. So a lot of companies are getting interested to see how they can change their own game through games for health.
So you're busy.
I'm very busy.
So what's your story today? Why are you here?
Well, I'm mostly here. I have a background. I'm a researcher. I have my PhD in psychology. And so I'm interested in how games can change behaviors for the long term. And so one of my big I guess you'd say, like, I'm on a role to really get people to evaluate the games that they're making for health, to see if they really do make a difference, so that we can make sure that all this enthusiasm around games for health is not a bubble, but it's just an upward trend that we're going to see more and more of in the future.
And evaluation is important for that. It should be approved by some sort of organization.
I don't know that it necessarily needs to be approved, but
Yeah.
I think people need to know that the things that they're using actually work, and that they're also safe for them, and that they're putting their money into something that's a quality product.
Why are games for health so important?
Well, I think they're important because what we've seen in the past is that information doesn't work, right? You have a pack of cigarettes and it says smoking kills, and the person's still smoking. And we have doctors who tell patients they need to eat better, they need to exercise more, they need to take their medications every day, and they're not doing it. So we have a problem with the behaviors. And we also have this point where you used to go in the hospital and the doctor treated you, and now you have to maintain your health outside the hospital. And there needs to be some kind of pervasive influence that's not negative, telling you what you're doing wrong, but it's rewarding you for the positive behaviors.
But why should a game? Why should a game work when a doctor doesn't, or when a
Well-
doctor tells you to behave yourself, you don't do it. Why should you do it when a game?
Well, doctors aren't really trained in behavior management, right? They're trained to be doctors. They administer medications. And so when you make a game, you work with someone like a psychologist or an educational specialist who's trained in helping to motivate you to change your behavior. So you're working with a behavior specialist inside the game.
So yeah, that's a different approach.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite example of a combination game? The combination games for health.
Well, of course, I'm going to cite my own game.
Yeah, sure.
It's Remission, and it's a game that was made for adolescents and young adults with cancer because they weren't having very good outcomes with their chemotherapy. And one of the problems was their adherence to their medications, like antibiotics and oral chemotherapy. And we made the game where you're an antibot, you go inside the body, you fight cancer and side effects. And we did a very large randomized clinical trial. It's the most scientifically rigorous clinical trial of games for health. And we found that the kids who played our game, they not only learned more about cancer and felt more effective at fighting it, but they took significantly more of their antibiotics and also their oral chemotherapy than kids in the control group.
So it really works.
Yeah, it works, and we showed that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that game.
Yeah. So the game is out there. It's being used now.
Absolutely. Over 200,000 copies of the game have been distributed worldwide, over 50% of them outside the United States, which is where we originally developed the game. It's available in Spanish and French, and it's still very popular today.
Yeah. So it sounds like a mass market. 200,000 copies. Is it a mass market?
Well, I think it's one of the big examples of a game that has had mass appeal. It has to do with a lot of factors. It has to do with the quality of the game, the research that went behind it, that people know that it works, but it also has to do that it addressed an important need that was out there, which was providing psychosocial support for adolescents and teenagers. A lot was being done for young kids and for older people with cancer, but not much for adolescents. So it was fulfilling an unmet need out there in the world.
Yeah, and the fact that it's out there in so many copies, does it mean that the price is low enough for people to buy it themselves, or is it?
Well, it actually does mean that. So we ask for a $20 or €20 donation for a copy of the game. But if you have cancer or you are a caretaker of someone with cancer, you're able to download the game for free.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where does the money come from then to do this?
We had a very dedicated sponsor in Pamela Kato, who's the founder of Hope Lab, that I co-founded with her, and we she started the company by making this game. And she's a very dedicated philanthropist, and she was very devoted to making this game become a reality.
Yeah, great, great. Do you see an important trend going on at the moment in Games for Health?
I think that Games for Health are going to start to become more mobile on mobile apps that we can carry around, because we've seen a lot of them on PC games and console games. I think they're going to start to become more mobile and more pervasive around us. And I think they're going to start being more embedded in gamification approaches, where we engage people in the long term, rewarding them for behaviors.
So you feel that people will use them more and more often, and then...
I hope so, and I hope they're good enough, and I hope that people really enjoy using them.
Okay, so sometimes people think that games are Games for Health are a solution for almost everything. Is that the case?
There are probably things they're not so good for. Well, just to take an example, I noticed in a lot of conferences when people present their studies in games for learning, video games are not very good at teaching theory. That's been the domain of academics, and that tends to be very well taught in a classroom and through books. And I think we're going to find areas in Games for Health where they don't work at all. You know, but that is going to be, we're going to find that out from research. We're going to find that out from the data. Yeah. So we not only need to do research to show that games work, but also show us what doesn't work, so we don't pursue that anymore.
Yeah. What will the world look like in 10 years' time concerning this area?
I think we'll all be healthy, and we'll all be playing games.
Really?
Yeah. No, I think more and more, it's not something for everyone.
No.
But I think we're going to start addressing some of the really hard problems that we haven't been able to address before with traditional methods, like a doctor telling a patient to do something.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be able to solve them a lot through games, and we'll have some big breakthroughs, I think.
So is it mainly the psychological aspect that really works well with the game, or?
I think it's the psychological, but there's also this principle of actually just engaging in a behavior, practicing a skill, instead of even thinking about it. Sometimes it's just about going through the motions and becoming familiar with how to do something.
Yeah, so you do it in the game, and then automatically you do it in your real life as well.
Again, let's see if that holds, and that's the question. If you do it in a game, will you do it in real life?
Yeah, but your game seems to...
Yeah, it did show that, so I think we need to build on those findings and see what else we can do with it.
Yeah.
And what would find out what the factors were that made it transfer to real life.
Yeah. So what sort of game do you use for your health?
I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I use games for relaxation, you know, when I get home, and I just play some games on the internet with my friends, and I'm able to connect with them. So it's a means for me to connect with other people and to have fun. So it's part of my stress management is games.
That sounds good as well.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks very much.